Afternoon, Smite fans. Dogs chase Styx, but what happens when the Styx fight back? Hounds versus Styx, coming at you now.
One side of the SPL is locked in. That's the Chaos side. The other side, all four teams can still move around, and we've only got 2 sets remaining in Phase 1 of the SMITE Pro League on our road to Masters. We've had a weekend full of 2-0s. We start off our Sunday with a 2-1, and that's a Jade Dragons win over the Atlantis Leviathans. Doesn't matter. Leviathans finished their phase, locked into 2nd seed. Moving forward, though, this is where things get interesting on our Sunday. We've got 2 best-of-3s remaining. Styx Ferrymen versus Eldritch Hounds, as Trelly just so kindly reminded us during that break. Camelot Kings and Highland Ravens end our day. Now, those are just exciting matchups because these teams are closely matched, but look at the left side of the screen. The right side of the screen, that's locked in, it's confirmed. Leviathans and Dragons, they have the same record. The Leviathans and Dragons have each beaten one another, but the Leviathans, throughout all of their games, lost less than the Jade Dragons did. So that plus-minus is where the tiebreaker comes in. That's why the Leviathans are 2nd seed in Chaos. Order division, Styx Ferrymen cannot finish in 1st seed. So that's the only thing that's certain here. Eldritch Hounds could win this match. They would bump up to 6-4. Then the Kings and the Ravens play later. If the Camelot Kings win, they would be 6-4. The Ravens would drop to 6-4. We'd have a 3-way tie for first, in which case we'd have to look at head-to-head, and then we'd have some locked-in head-to-head, and at that point you look at plus-minus. So and on the flip side, if the Styx Ferrymen win and the Ravens win, then you're going to have 3 teams tied at 5-5. And so really on the order side of things here, Trelly, we're not only looking at the overall winner of each of these matches, that's square number 1, right? But also the number of games that the teams win or lose these matches in can end up making a big difference. Remember, if you 2-0, it's a 2-win swing. If you get 2-0'd, it's a 2-loss swing. 2-1 is just a 1 plus-minus difference. And so each individual game, even if you're losing, to just take 1 game off your opponent to push it to that game 3 matters up until the final moments here. Styx Ferrymen versus Eldritch Hounds carries implications for not only 1st, but 2nd, 3rd, 4th, moving forward. In Trelly, the first team that we're going to talk about in this one, the Eldritch Hounds. This is a team who at the beginning of the year we had mixed expectations for. It's a team that qualified in, therefore we assumed it would be a bit of a struggle, and it was. But this is a team that just yesterday 2-0'd the Camelot Kings, and that 2-0 victory keeps things interesting.
Oh yeah,
over here in the Order division, and it's a Hounds team that seemingly has figured out a lot about themselves and their strategy and what they want to do in game.
Yep, we have learned a lot watching the squad, as I think the team as a whole has learned as well about how they like to play Smite, how they like to get aggressive, what kind of hard carries they have on the team, and who they can play through. And I've been very impressed with the entirety of the Hounds, but more specifically, Oath and Ducky have this great synergy where they're able to play off each other and get farm leads and then rotate into late game, which is just such a hassle for pretty much every other team to try and deal with. Coast has been an absolute monster in the duo lane. Of course, Quig has got to be said to the same extent. And Benny Q does his job. I mean, the whole team, I think, has been very solid and very fun to watch.
Agreed. I think that this Eldritch Hound squad and expectations that are levied against them. I think they've probably moved past a lot of the expectations that they feel like fans had for them and maybe they had for themselves going into the year here. And so I think being that competitive this late on into the phase and still having, again, I don't know how the math is going to break down plus-minuses head-to-heads, there's a chance for this team to finish first in the Order division depending on how everything shakes out. And that's a great moment, I think, for the Eldritch Hounds. And even if it doesn't end up in first, just being in competition for the top few seeds, a really good look. One of the most important players on the squad, the most charismatic player you'll ever meet. It's Ducky, standing by with Gormizer.
That's right. I've got Ducky right here, right now. I do want to ask, because there's a lot, I think, of conversations to have about the Hounds. And I think specifically for you, this has been a really successful phase for the team as well. I'm just kind of curious, from week 1, were you guys expecting to find yourselves in a position like you are, especially in this kind of division, or have things just picked up and maybe clicked faster than you assumed they would?
No, I thought we'd do pretty good going into it. I thought we'd do better, if anything. But I'm really proud of how everyone's been performing and how all the rookies have settled in on my team.
Now, this has been, I think, not just a fun phase to watch, but like you said, with a bunch of rookies coming into this, we have seen maybe more stumbles. But you guys yesterday, you're able to find a huge win, I think, over the Kings. Going up against the Ferrymen today, what are your thoughts on this matchup and just about your opponents?
Like, what are my thoughts on them?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm just going in to win. What?
You did tell me coming in today that you were just like, yeah, I just ate a protein bar. I haven't had lunch today.
Yeah, no, I want to. If it's a 2-0, I don't mind who gets the 2-0, preferably us. But if we can make it quick so I can go eat, that would be lovely.
Sometimes it's just that simple. Not much thought about the in-lane matchup even. And that's one that I'm going to ask you about. Baskin on the other side, definitely one that, from what we've seen the last couple of days, solo lane can dictate a lot of the pace of these games. Are you worried about any gods that he has, or is there anything in lane that you're super worried about, or are you thinking only team fights?
There's only 4 good gods in solo at the moment, so we've practiced for each and every single one of them, so we should be fine.
Well, there you go. You know what? Nice and easy. And like you said, hopefully a 2-0. Double hopeful for it to be the Hounds. We'll find out. We'll try to get Ducky some food here. Good luck in your game, man.
All right, thank you.
And we'll go back to the desk.
I actually talked to Aurora just casually down the hallway. I said, Aurora, how's it going, buddy? Is it going to be a 2-0 today? He said, I don't know. He said, I think, what was it? I don't want to now misquote Aurora.
Oh, that'd be terrible.
One of the two teams not getting a win in this set. This is terrible by me because it literally sets the stage for the plus minus in this. But I believe if the Eldritch Hounds 2-0, or no, if the Styx Ferrymen, no, if they.
You're killing it.
I know, I'm doing great. There's a world here where a tiebreaker, depending on the Eldritch Hounds getting a win or not in this set, could come to fruition. And so a 2-0 in favor of the Hounds could end up being really detrimental towards the length of Ducky's week, I guess, depending on his hope in moving forward and getting some food. Their opponents of the Styx Ferrymen, they're not going to let that happen easily because the Ferrymen, Trelly, one of the more difficult teams to lock down and figure out. But over the last few weeks, they've been playing some of their best Smite. Think about not in the previous matchup because it was a tough one against the Highland Ravens. They lost that one 2-0, but just prior to that, they beat the Camelot Kings 2-0. Prior to that, they beat the Leviathans 2-0. Prior to that, they beat the Jade Dragons 2-0. This is a team that's been on a 2-0 streak, one way or the other, in the vast majority of their matches here so far this phase. And come tournament time, you know you're going to get a very competitive team. Come SPL time, it seems one of two Ferryman teams that you're going to get on any given day.
And that's my issue currently, is not only the inconsistency, but I can't figure out. You don't get to see them walk in and you're like, oh, we get the winning Ferryman today, or it really is not known until you get into game and you look at picks and bans. That's usually when you get some semblance of an idea of what version of the Styx Ferryman we're gonna get. And I think I'm still learning about different picks. Like I for a while, the Marty went untouched, and I was saying, oh, Paul doesn't play Marty, and then he whips it out and plays it as perfectly as anyone else who's touched that god. I'm like, okay, so now that's another pick you got to worry about. I think Cyclone Spin has really stepped up his game, been able to hard carry for his team when the conversation used to be, hey, if Paul gets online, the Ferrymen look good. Cyclone has been able to really pick up those reins and perform up to his own accord, as we'd be able to expect from him. And because of that, I think lane matchups a little bit more important than usual in a matchup like this. Sino in the jungle versus Oath, who's been having a fantastic, not just a couple weeks. Oath's been on fire for a while now, and Sino, we've got a lot of interviews. We got to talk to him a fair bit about not only his god pool, but how he likes to play in this current meta, that sort of thing. I thought we had an understanding that he was like, okay, assassins are the play, and that's what he's going to go towards. And then once again, we saw some more of those interesting style of jungle picks. So it really does depend on which Styx Ferryman team walks in through that door on any given day. And today I see smiles, but that is kind of par for the course, right? Aurora's always got a big smile on his face.
Yep.
So I don't know what to expect. I hope to see something interesting at the very least.
I imagine the Ravens and the Kings watching this matchup with some intrigue. I would assume the Ravens and the Kings, they're rooting for a Ferryman win, because that then simplifies our final match of the day, and just straight up whoever wins that set is first seed over on the order side. Whereas if the Hounds win, that's when we're starting to look at plus minus head to head. If the Kings were to win, Ravens really do control their own destiny. They have that one extra win, so our final set of the day really in control of the Ravens. But there's a scenario where things get all sorts of messy. But we're going to find out by the end of this best of three just how messy things are going to get over on the order side here on our path to Masters. Chaos side, decided our 2nd and 3rd seed. 4th seed was figured out yesterday. 1st seed, the Oni Warriors, that has been sorted out for a while.
The order side is in chaos. That's the truth.
The order side is in chaos.
And we get to witness it. And I think that's the best part. It's nice to be able to say, hey, I'm not stressed about any positioning. You know, we just get to watch them.
Yeah, we just get to watch it happen.
And I think that's a lot
except
easier.
I got stressed trying to describe just a moment ago, trying to explain all the plus minuses.
And also trying to quote Aurora. That stressed you out a bit as well.
Look, I'll get the calculator out. Don't you worry. By the end of this death segment, no, not this death segment, by the end of this set, during one of the death segments, I'll have this figured out. And I'll have it. I gotta get. What's the one with the beads that you slide? Is that an abacus? Is that what it's called?
Oh man.
I think the old timey
counters. I'm aware of what you mean. I don't know.
I'm gonna get that out in between games here, and I'll sort things through. Picks and bans. Zoe, Yamoja, Aphrodite, a couple of support picks taken away from Quig, Cirquette as well off the board, but that's a more oath-directed ban. Whereas the Hounds uninterested in playing against Cyclone Spin's Marty, and the Hebo. Could be for Paul, could be for Sino, in threatening hands either way. Soul Lane, Charlie, left largely untouched during this pick ban phase. Leaves all the priority picks open to both Ducky and to Baskin.
Because I poked fun a bit about the Aurora statement, I will tell you it is an abacus. You were right, and I had no idea.
I'm glad I didn't say some horrible, regretful thing, thinking that an abacus was something that it's really not.
Nope, you were 100% correct, as per usual.
Good look for, well, all right.
And hey, I'm just here to sing your praises. The Styx Ferrymen have their first pick opportunity, and they are going to grab the hell a pick that has been played mostly in support. Time and time again, we've seen it go towards mid, and Paul does have a good hell. Because it's an important set, I'm going to hold on to the ambiguity of the pick and say that it could be a flex, but I lean towards support, and I prefer it in support. I think it's a little bit better just being able to build that protections and stay in light stance and just cleanse for your team.
I will say, when Paul played it against the Kings, that was a game 2. He won, went 2-0-7. He went Divine Ruin, Breastplate of Regrowth, Lotus Sickle, Soul Reaver. So there was a supporty build with a little damage just over in mid, as you would expect Paul to do. So if it does end up in Paul's hands, still expect there to be a bit of extra defense somewhere in the build. As mentioned, a lot of Soul Laners left open. Could be a Horus, though Horus also played over in support. Guan Yu, though, definite Soul Laner here for Baskin. Jabalanque, only a handful of times played so far this phase, Trilly, at 4, 1-2, lost 2. Still a hunter that has seen some success and can synergize with the popular builds right now. And the Hercules lock-in will shine the light on exactly where the Horus is going. Will be Horus, Hachiman, duo lane, Hercules over in solo, and the Hounds have their front line figured out.
H-God's just on top of the world in the current meta.
That's what I'm saying.
You got Hell, Hachi, Horus, Hercules. Unfortunately.
Hebo's banned.
Yep, that one's going to be taken away. So you're not going to have any more H-Gods coming through anytime soon. The Baba Yaga, definitely a smart ban if you think that Hell is going over towards Aurora. Paul's pick, still something to look at. And the Merlin and the Agni as well for the Ferrymen. So you're going to have to dive deep into the God pool for these mid laners. Again, assuming that Hell goes over towards Aurora. The Yu Huang is the hover. Really no one playing this pick except Benny. And when he does, he shows us how dynamic this ultimate can be. Dueling Dragons. Great for engage, great for disengage, and specifically good for pulling people out of that Phoenix fight. Sieging has been a problem for a lot of these teams, and I think Yu Huang can remedy that problem.
Yu Huang against the Jade Dragons went 5-1-5.
There you go.
In a winning game there for Benny Q and the rest of the Eldritch Hounds, who have put up some pretty good numbers so far here this year.
Oh, it's the Pell.
It is the Pell. Because Maui picked for Aurora.
But wait. It's going to be Tyr or Guan Jungle. If he locks it in, which Sino might not.
He might not. We have loved the departure from Warrior Jungles, but
we've praised it.
But I don't think we can never fully write it off, you know, if it makes some sense.
Oh, hold up.
All right. Now, if Ducky wanted a quick 2-0,
that's true.
Preferably one for the Eldritch Hounds. This might be what they want to see locked in. Surtur Jungle, look, it takes me by surprise, but I'm not a pro player, so I think that when I'm playing against it is what I'm trying to say. Won't be.
Oh, man. I would have preferred Server.
Instead, it will be the Osiris. And this has nothing to do with Sino. I'm just going to put a blanket statement. I'm not a big fan of Osiris jungle in general, almost regardless of who's playing it. But got to give a little extra leeway to the pro players and trying to get something going.
I mean, I'm perplexed. I think that's a joke because if that was okay.
Yeah.
So in this case, we saw Sino play the Osiris, and notably, it did better than I expected. I will say.
Well, when my expectations are in the dirt, literally anything is better than my expectations.
Right, and I will say that he did fine. But to say that there are not.
He went 3-5-4.
To say that there are not numerous better picks available would be a lie and an understatement. And I am here to analyze. This is just, Sino wants to play Warriors. We've talked to him in interviews. He says, hey, man, yeah, I like Warriors, but I also think they're good. Mm-hmm. The data does not prove that. And if anything, it proves the opposite. So until he starts winning consistently, I will always say that there are better picks available.
Sure.
But they've got a tanky front line, and they have a healer, which means if they are able to snowball, any tanky comp can, it could be impossible to catch up. But the Eldritch Hounds, in my expertise in watching them, they're not a team that like to get snowballed on. They're a team that like to get active.
They do the snowballing.
They usually do. So I would like to see Oath, bring the pressure on despite the fact that he's into this much of a tanky composition.
Last time Sino played Osiris jungle was 2 days ago against the Highland Ravens. Went 3-5-4. Golden Blade, Phalanx, Chin Size, Executioner, and then a non-completed Sage's Stone was his build in that game.
Yep.
Again, I think that there was a meta where it was Osiris v. Erlang Shen effectively every single game in the jungle.
A couple of years ago, or
many moons ago. At some point last year. It felt like an eternity, though. And it was a meta where that just seemed like what was good. We'll see if and I'm harshing on it because it just seems so volatile. If it doesn't get off to this incredible start, it feels like kind of just fade out into nothingness later on in the game. But such is life, I suppose, for the Styx Ferrymen. Eldritch Hounds, though, Trelly is just the Osiris jungle enough to give the compositional victory over to the Hounds.
Just the Osiris jungle. Right. No, I think everything else they got.
I'm harshing on this too bad. I'm in a bad mood.
The Hell the Guan is still top of the meta. A lot of healing, a lot of sustain. You've got Maui. That's some fantastic engage. And X-Ball, despite the fact that has been played too much, 50% win rate. Bear likes it a lot. It does have good team fight if you're able to stay just fine in lane. So if you just put blinders on the bottom, that looks like a solid draft. And then you take it off and you're like, oh, Osiris, can he be aggressive? Can he just get in there and facilitate the team? It's possible. It happens. It's just we're in a meta where junglers can just absolutely hard carry, drop 9 kills, and win you a game. And Osiris rarely does that, so it feels a little bit off.
I appreciate you putting data and analysis to my general feelings, Charlie. It actually makes me feel a bit more comfortable in how I am and sensing some of that draft. But again, you got to leave the door open to just about anything. I'm going to end up on a Betty SMITE video talking about how terrible Osiris jungle is, and we're going to see a Sino Penta in this game. And
I hope we do.
I'm welcoming it. Part of me hopes it happens.
Well, the Penta, not the video, unless the video's in good spirits, in which case I'll be in that one too.
Yeah, because you've provided a little analysis. You're putting yourself out there too. you and I are both potentially in some trouble.
Yep.
Remember, I don't want the weight of this game to be lost amongst some of the analysis of the picks and bans. Eldritch Hounds, 1 game out of first. If they win this set, they put themselves in tiebreaker plus-minus math type scenario. Styx Ferrymen, they can avoid that happening. They can create a tie for the lower half of the bracket here on the order side. Game number 1 between the Styx Ferrymen and the Eldritch Hounds.
That's right, and it's going to be a fun one, Mifflin, or at least one that I'm anticipating to be relatively fun. I do want to go back to the picks and bans, though. We were watching. Oh, I should say it's Gore, it's Mifflin, and of course Doug for this one. We were watching with the tier hover, and you were begging for it to be locked in. You liked the idea of tier jungle, and I would argue even more than I do.
Yeah, I mean, I'll lay my biases bare.
Yeah.
I played in Season 2 in the SPL.
Yeah.
And I played a whole lot of tier jungle because it was a warrior jungle meta. Tier has just received some buffs, and I was presented with the option of Surtur or Osiris as the alternatives. So I was pretty on board for the tier jungle. That's not to say that Osiris isn't going to be bad. And honestly, if we're being completely honest, I think perhaps a bit too harsh on the Osiris jungle. I feel like this is certainly something that has got potential, has similar ability, not as strong as it used to, but has a similar ability to absolutely dominate a game with a lead. There's going to come an inflection point if and when Osiris gets a lead where he can simply just walk forward at you and you're slowed permanently because he's connected the first sickle. And that's when Osiris feels like the be-all, end-all, I've dominated the game style of pick. It's just not as easy to do anymore because you don't have mannequins. You're not the scariest guy on the map at level 1.
Maybe some pressure on Cyno to perform. Oath, one of the top first blood getters. I have it taken away from Matt to play carefully. Coast getting a lot of poke over in the duo lane. Having to play a little more patiently. I think it is that conversation, though, right? When we're talking about it, Cyno on the Osiris, you had mentioned maybe level 1, not as big. Does the Susano, I guess, just outright beat him in certain moments in the early game, or are there going to be moments where Cyno can control this lane, or if it's not even going to be up to the jungles? I mean, the duo lanes right now have been very aggressive from Cyclone Spin and Aurora.
You know, it's a loaded question, Gore, because I don't think there's going to come a point in the first 6 levels where Oath is like, yes, I've caught Cyno, and I win this 1v1. I think Cyno does win that direct 1v1 matchup. Put him in a vacuum fight in the jungle, nobody else around.
But how often are they finding
Cyno's going to do that, and he's going to win that every time, but he's not going to find that, at least not frequently. Instead, I think when you evaluate the relative value of junglers, it's what is impact on map? What is impact against everyone besides the enemy jungler? It's not like laners in their direct lane matchup. It's more so how do you influence that. Susano has displacement. He's got higher burst potential. Doesn't need to connect auto attacks for the most part. Auto attack cancels, of course, off your pool. But Osiris needs to do that. He needs to get point blank, and he needs to land 5 or 6 auto attacks, right? And that's not super easy to do throughout the early game or at any point of the game, really. So ease of access, threat to laners, I think Oath has certainly got more of it on the Susano than Osiris does on the other side.
Well, let's talk about a god then that I think will have a big impact on this one, and you can call me an aggro fanboy, but we got to talk about Maui.
Okay.
I've been loving Maui. Literally all year it is like my go-to pick. Outside of that, it has surprised me after what we saw, like Genetics do at Worlds, what we've seen from this god at the highest level of play, that he disappeared for a long time, and when he has shown up, it hasn't been dominant, right? Like, and maybe that's expected, right? That's actually a good balancing point, is if you're showing up every now and then, doing well, but not always winning. But is this, you know, in your eyes, still a great support when you have, you know, your Terras, your Yamojas, you have all these others that are available to you?
I think he is still great. Is he as good as maybe the Yamoja right now, or even Horus on the other side? Maybe not. It's more so that he's just outshined a bit than he's really gotten a lot weaker. But in year 10, he has gotten a bit weaker. A lot of these channeled abilities in Smite, things like Overhand Smash from Hunbots, those types of abilities, have now got knock-up immunity, which means that it's much more difficult for Maui to find some of those opportunities to leverage the ultimate. But if you tell me a god has got essentially a Heavenly built into the kit, an ally teleport, 3 pools, a stun, a leap, a wall, all of that, there are going to be opportunities where at least one of those tools is put to good use. I think Maui still in a very good spot, even if he is outshone a bit.
God, I love playing Maui, man. and maybe it's because he's got all those things you had just said. It's just so fun. Hopefully Aurora has that level of fun, depending on where the team is around him. Xbalanque locked in alongside it, right? If we're just going through the tier list right now, it's been played a lot by Bera. TBD. I mean, Cyclone Spin's been playing for a long time, much like you have, right? So he's played in the metas where Xbalanque's been strong. He's played in the metas where Xbalanque's not even mattered. And so he's just going to be playing a little patiently here. I think everybody is. I was looking for CC. I don't know why the Yu Huang stalled me there for a moment. And I guess it's just because Benny-Q's the only one who's still playing him. And I think earlier this year, I was going through SPL win rates for gods. Yu Huang was relatively low. Might be some trouble for Baskin. Oath teleports in.
That was
Typhoon
smart.
knocks him up. Not able to get the kill, though. That tier 1, still sub 5 minutes, still deals a lot of damage. So despite a good attempt and a good blink, Oath unable to get the kill.
Yeah, I really like Oath, the patience on that, the slipstream, the ability to just teleport right after the stun from Baskin. I thought was pretty good. If it were only the ultimate to follow up, though, I think probably would have been better off holding on to it. Oath does not like his odds in a tower dive, and why wouldn't you, or why would you rather, especially this early in the game.
Especially after what we've seen in tower dives in solo lane.
Yeah, I mean, up against Guan Yu in particular, that's usually SOT, so we'll see. Shibalanke, I think, is an interesting point of conversation, Gore.
Yeah, okay.
Usually when Shibalanke is solidly within the meta, it's when it's a Transcendence meta or it's a Death's Toll meta, because he can really just bully out his lane with the branching Bola. It's not exactly either of those right now, but with the value on Hachiman on the other side, Hachiman being probably the best boxing hunter in the game right now, you want to draft someone that isn't as afraid to box in the lane matchup. So Shibalanke having additional power from the Bola or even poke potential, just in clearing the wave, might be able to equalize that a bit. Is it as strong as Hachiman? I don't think so. But if you get Shibalanke a lead, he has got the ability to bully for sure, and is very safe in lane, surprisingly. Still has CC immunity in the dash, so the CC that takes a bit longer on the side of the Eldritch Hounds might struggle to actually connect. For example, Dueling Dragons takes a second for you to line it up, or even the Typhoon from Oath also takes just the barest of moments. Could be that Cyclone Smith's able to immune out a few of those and not have to have as much pressure on his beats.
First blood in this game is going to make a huge difference. Only a couple hundred gold separating these teams. We're going into 7 minutes. If you were watching yesterday, this was a key moment for some teams to potentially pick up Gold Furies. And by some teams, I mean the Warriors. It was the Warriors playing at an incredibly fast pace. Mifflin, these teams, outside of that attempted gank on right, don't expect to see a lot from Sino, right? You had mentioned that, maybe not looking for too much, what impact he could have on lane. Instead, it's Oath's presence, maybe Aurora's presence on the other side. Aurora right now. Caught out, goes for the ult. Benny
nice try.
Gets the dash, CC immunity, dodges that one out. Quig dashes over, and suddenly the landfall means nothing. The island goes away, and the Ferrymen have to pump the brakes.
Landfall so important to the Styx Ferrymen and how they start off these fights that I think we're probably looking at another 50 or so seconds until Aurora is able to try for a similar play. You know, I had said Sino has got less impact on map. Hold your breath there. Maybe if Aurora found that pool, things could have been a little bit different here. I'd said that Sino has a little bit less impact on map, and that's true. But Sino is also in a weird state of flux in that he needs to make impact on map. He needs to get things rolling.
Yeah. Because
he's not going to scale as hard as Susano. Osiris just is not going to do as much in the late game. He can be a little bit tankier, sure. He can create a little bit of space, and you'll have the healing from Paul to even help out with that. But as far as damage output is concerned, he won't be doing as much as Susano. AoE, DPS, CC, he won't have it as consistently either. You really want to see this Osiris get something rolling. Generally around second item is when Osiris feels very powerful and can stick in these fights a little bit longer than everybody else and can throw his weight around a little bit. Third, fourth item, that inflection point that Osiris was enjoying, starts to slip away, as is the way of the Styx Ferrymen, as Dave so aptly put. C'est la vie.
We'll see whether or not they can find that Transcendence for Oath. Is maybe going to, not maybe, it's going to be a big power spike for him when he finishes that one up. Like you said, this is definitely an area for the Osiris. He's just farming, though, and vibing. I mean, he's as far away from a lane as you could get right now back at the speed buff. And so nothing too insane on par with the same level. I mean, Mifflin, as far as even games go, 9-15 into this one, there's a small, and I mean small, experience lead for Oath. Maybe they're going to look for a little bit more over here on duo. Aurora, Cyclone. Aurora gets pulled back in by Oath, but they're too close to the tower line. That one gets dropped. Shield buff takes priority. And so that very small experience lead stays the same, but Sino's over there. Might go for some slows, maybe a little bit of aggression. Shield buff did go towards the Hounds. Aurora's half health. There's not going to be an engage from the Hounds here. And the Ferrymen back away, so Sino shows up looking for a fight, but you had mentioned it. Maybe wants a second item, wants to spend some of the gold in pocket before getting truly involved in the fights. And he's got 2,200 to spend.
This has been Sino's MO for a while. Even at Worlds, remember, it was a lot of Thanatos from Sino during his Worlds run, but it wasn't a whole lot of Thanatos early game. It was using it to just stay out on field, farm up, and just stay afloat with the enemy jungler. Has done so the exact same way here. An adaptation in the build, something we should have expected. The Phalanx, a Cyclone Spin, finds himself in no man's land.
Might be in trouble here. Coast dashes forward. What a clean play between him and Quig. The lockdown is too good. The Xbalanque goes down, but not without fail. The Ferrymen recognize the play, pull the Pyromancer on the other side of the map. Getting aggressive on that, and there's not a Hounds in sight. In fact, instead the Hounds are getting pushed away. Baskin does trade his life out 1-for-1 solo. Gets a kill onto Ducky, gives a kill over to Oath. I pick up the Pyromancer on top of all of that, so Mifflin 2 kills, 1 objective.
Looks like Ducky wasn't ready for that Transcendence Guan Yu damage output, hitting very hard in lane already, as is Paul. Benny been stuck here, dueling dragons, just off the mark, and he found Paul, and he pulled him back. Things would have been easy for the Eldritch Hounds and Quig on the rotation to pick up the hell. Styx Ferrymen would get a whole lot on map there. Baskin, of course, creating so much space. Even in falling down, it does put him at a slight deficit. Ducky a little bit ahead now, but Baskin completely distracts Oath from the engagement, keeps Oath from rotating towards Pyromancer, potentially checking that, and taking away the neutral objective. I love what Baskin did there. Generate threat, pull the attention of the Hounds, grab something bigger elsewhere on the map. Styx Ferrymen still nursing a slight deficit, though. I've worded that strangely. Eldritch Hounds nursing a lead, I should say. Still in a decent position. And looking at the compositions, and I think the desk had said this as well, it just feels like the Eldritch Hounds have got a little bit more oomph in the late game. I'd like to see the Styx Ferrymen get something accomplished. Maybe even look for some TKOs. Paul's been doing a very good job of keeping Benny poked. We've seen it a few times. Benny locked to this tower, poked down, taking damage on tower line.
Seen this a few times as well. Ducky trying to survive under his own tier 1 damage.
Should be all right.
This is working pretty well back against Baskin, and like you said, he's going to be all right, and there's not a lot of hard CC over there once the ult from Baskin is down. Doesn't create too much. Ducky throws out the boulder and doesn't have anything else to worry about.
Yeah, and that damage was almost entirely just Baskin working on Ducky there. Sino didn't have too many opportunities to connect his own. No auto attacks to follow up. But here's exactly what I was talking about from the Ferrymen. Find a TKO, do something on map. I thought it'd be in mid. Instead, it's in solo. They take out the tier 1 tower there. Ducky not quite able to defend it. But the potential to do the exact same thing in mid or duo and then leverage the healing of hell, very high, and it could net you a gold fury, especially with vision control already over to the Ferrymen. You can see the Eldritch Hounds concerned about that exact play, keeping a pretty significant numbers advantage on the left-hand side. Ferrymen, though, got eyes elsewhere. Tier 1 and mid, this could go quick.
Wow, with the Runic Bomb as well,
Real
yeah,
quick.
They are going to take it really quick. Gold Fury has potential here. Baskin's rotated over. So the Ferrymen going to rotate in, start that one up. Oath, Benny Hugh, Quig, Coast, all in the neighborhood. Ducky on the other side of the planet, no teleport to work with. Gold Fury, 2/3 HP. The lights shut off by Cyclone Spin, forces the Hounds to play back. Ducky has had enough time, rotated in, is in the back of the fight. 5 of the Ferrymen start to fall back. Hounds go towards Oracles, get the vision. Play it patiently. Aurora's looking to fish something out. Just doesn't look like he's going to find it, and Mifflin, a lot of potential energy. None of it ever comes kinetic.
Yeah, the Styx Ferrymen just want to poke at this point, and the Eldritch Hounds need to secure kills. That's the difference. Every bit of damage the Styx Ferrymen do to the Eldritch Hounds will likely stick. Quig can heal up a little bit, but he's not matching a Hell and Guan Yu together. Guan Yu, essentially a healer amplifier with the CDR that he affords to Paul. Means that the Styx Ferrymen really do just win out. In a battle of attrition, it should be the order side. But unwilling, it seems like, to even stick to it. I mean, that was a 5-stack from the Ferrymen. They fall back, instantly all back to full HP. But reset nonetheless, perhaps pressure from the Eldritch Hounds in mid enough to fizzle the entirety of the map. But this Gold Fury, it survived a lot longer than I thought it would have. Neither side's exactly got the greatest burn, but both sides have got good enough that I think really could start pressuring it out. Now that Pyromancer's back on the map, though, it does add a layer of entropy to these objective plays. If you go to one, you got to assume your enemies are going to the other.
Yeah, 15 minutes in, as you mentioned, the objectives can disappear a lot quicker. We already saw a Pyromancer pull earlier from the Ferrymen, and it went, admittedly answered back with a couple of kills. Pyromancer pulled this time, and there's the burn you were expecting. Damage is good. Unfortunately for BennyQ, he's a little too late to try and go for a steal. Ferryman now 2 up on that one. No tower to go to. BennyQ goes up into the sky, but he's not going to have too much retaliation. The ult used just to stay alive a little longer and turns to run as far as he can. Team's here to help out. Typhoon knocks up Baskin, damage onto Sino, and Oath goes in, gets the kill, and helps his team start the chase down. Boulder onto Baskin, gets a kill for Ducky. 4-1 for the Hounds.
Yikes.
The chase is still on. Roars low, slowed, but not knocked back. Pull, in fact, onto Quig. It's not going to be enough. Oath dives too deep, eats too much. And they're going to turn 1 back in favor of the Ferrymen, but 1 in the face of 3. As the trade goes through, and the Ferrymen, unfortunately, going to have to watch as the Gold Fury pulled by the Hounds and taken down.
Ferrymen get hit by the Yu Huang Classic. You just forget how safe that god really is. When Beads, Aegis, Dueling Dragons, and Celestial Flight are all available, what is that, 15 seconds of combined damage and CC immunity at various points? I mean, Benny is, if he's anybody else, he's dead, unless he's Yanis. Yep. Maybe he walks through a wall, but any other mage dies for that positioning. Sino and Baskin able to jump on him so quickly, but because he is Yu Huang, able to bait the Styx Ferryman far too far into the Eldritch Hounds side of the map, and from there chase down clean Vaporous Coast, multi-man slow on his ultimate. Ducky leading the charge and is incredibly fast with a katana and regrowth build. Means that he's got an easy time walking up and landing some of that CC. Worth noting that Paul finds a pretty phenomenal cleanse there. Keeps Aurora alive just a moment longer had the pool connected. It's pretty unlikely that Oath would have fallen down on his own chase. But it's the Eldritch Hounds that come out largely ahead. First major team fight of the game handed over to the Hounds. Nets them the Gold Fury, and everything the Styx Ferrymen had done up until this point immediately washed away.
Yeah, gold in favor of the Hounds ever so slightly. Kills definitely in their favor. But the experience is where I've been keeping my eyes, right? 1,600 still feels enough, level lead, and a lot of rolls. In fact, the only place they're making up for it for the Ferrymen is in mid, Paul. Just a farm machine. No Pyro, no Fury to fight over. With the way this game has been going, Mivlin, I would not be surprised if that means that we don't see a fight for a little while. The Hounds maybe looking for invades, maybe looking for pressure in mid. Oath goes for a pull onto Paul. Can't quite get it. Still blows my mind. I mean, very much what you said. Right here in mid, just a little behind where Aurora is standing. BennyQ is where he gets caught out. Celestial Flight, Beads, Aegis, ult. Get him to the tier 2 and a turnaround. Plus time for Ducky to rotate in. Teleports are going to be coming up. Relic's about to be coming back up. So the fight's looking tasty over the next few minutes.
You know, I think I've got a solid grasp on why the Styx Ferrymen are playing a bit conflict adverse.
Okay.
Look at the player damage charts, Doug, if you can pull that up for me once more. 1,400 from Sino out of the jungle.
Yeah.
The Osiris just can't connect his damage. He's not tanky enough to get point blank and auto attack. That Executioner, awesome for Cyclone Spin, if the Executioner gets a proc. But every time Sino's walked up, it's been Sickle, into Unravel, into Lord of the Afterlife, into Immediate Retreat. It'll be good on objectives, though. The Chop Chop works here for sure.
That's exactly what they're going for. Started up by the Ferryman. Baskin goes for the zone. Ducky, BennyQ, Quig have eyes. Coast is on the other side of the world.
Do you coin toss this?
It's coming over. They're going to go for the coin toss right now. Good push by Ducky. Keeps the fight going. Quig's up in the air. Ducky might have to retreat here with the team. They fall back. BennyQ's still there. Fire Giant, 1/3 HP. Oath comes in. Oath's got damage. He falls back. Sino's getting low. Fire Giant up in the air. Who's going to go for it? Ferryman secure that one. Sino dies, though. Oath with a loop around. Aurora, one hit. Aurora gone. Benny, credit to that one. BennyQ taken down by Paul. It's a 3v3, but the health bars on the Hounds have them second-guessing. Paul not second-guessing anything. Playing aggressive on the health. Tries to chase down.
Here's a turnaround.
There's going to be the push. Paul has a little bit of healing. Knockback, not going to be great. Paul goes for the cleanse. Oath gets low. Paul goes back in. Still playing with a lot of damage. Needs the CC, needs the peel, but he's just going to find a different kill elsewhere. Quig is the one that goes down now. fighting up against his mana is what he's looking for. Coast joins the fight, by the way.
Paul chase him
It's
down.
just negligible. Paul just needs the mana, has
Another
the
one?
mana double kill, and he's looking for a little more if it weren't for the teleport oath. Oh, maybe hands a triple over to the mid laner. 4-0-0. Great plays by Paul, and a Fire Giant to boot.
Man, Cyclone Spin shows up on the tail end of that fight exactly as his team needs him. Puts out the damage. Poorish Coast just struggled to find the auto attacks to finish off Paul, who was in very poor position. Caught between every single member of the Eldritch Hounds, but because those auto attacks weren't there, Paul systemically destroys the Hounds one at a time, and the chase down clear. This hell moves very quickly. Not only the speed stem in kit, but also in build, and the slows to chase out as well. Seems like Paul's doing just immense damage in these team fights. Fire Giant has been stripped off too. It's the tanks from the Styx Ferrymen. They're going to be struggling a bit. Sino and Aurora lacking some of that sustain, but you'll get it from composition regardless. And because Baskin's the tankiest member of your team, means you could still start making quick work of at least the tier 1, the one remaining tier 1 on the map. Perhaps an Oni Fury afterward as well. But the Styx Ferrymen keeping pressure in mid. We've seen a lot of SPL teams in this position decide to split push to distract the team pushing with Fire Giant. This presence in mid from the Eldritch Hounds might be the exact reason the Styx Ferrymen haven't started knocking on the door of these towers just yet. But there's no neutral objectives on the right, and tier 1 tower still standing means that you should be able to start putting threat on these tier 2s very shortly. The Eldritch Hounds, they gotta start moving fast, because if the Styx Ferrymen are allowed to move in towards this Phoenix, they'll take it very quickly.
Looks like backs channeled. Phoenix defense is the call over here. Oath goes for tier 1 in
30
mid,
seconds.
takes that one. Tier 2 taken down by the Ferryman over in the left. They get aggressive onto the Phoenix. Knock up onto Baskin from Quig. Tries to get a lot. Good pull from Benny maybe changes the course of this fight.
What?
Baskin goes in, gets a 3-man stun, and he gets to walk out. Quig moving forward. In with the Horus comes with Oath. He's too low, has to play backward. Oath can't do anything. Instead, they have to retreat. Good stun from the Maui, not able to find the kill. Sino.
One more.
One more auto. So many close to dead, but no one going down. Ferryman still knocking on the door, healing Mifflin. This is where it comes in big.
War of attrition. Healing will be there. It's coming from Baskin, it's coming from Paul, but not the Fire Giant anymore. That buff is worn off. Can the Styx Ferrymen keep this up? The Eldritch Hounds have already reset. It's a fair fight.
Go in, no, jump back from Aurora. Hounds able to stand 5 strong. Like you said, small resets. Towers
Man, look at this.
fell in favor of the Ferryman, the healing.
Summer's blessing, man.
Topping them off like it's nothing. And now this Fire Giant does wear off 30 seconds ago, Mifflin, so they don't have that boost. And they actually only have 30 seconds now to get to the right side of the map. Hounds as well maybe looking for that reset. This will be Ferryman falling back, and the Phoenix stays alive.
Let's talk about how criminal it is that Benny's hitting a 4-man dueling dragon.
And no one
Pulling
dies.
them all into the Phoenix. It's not just like a random one in mid or in a jungle corridor. Pulls the entirety of the Styx Ferrymen into Phoenix. And not only did nobody die, but also the majority of the relics go unused as well. Beads and Aegis maintained by both Paul and Cyclone Spin.
That's actually insane.
Yeah, the Styx Ferrymen, they're in a good position for a Fire Giant fight.
And they're going to step up to it. Fire Giant started. Quig's just deleted. This Horus has not been able to withstand the damage on the other side. Dueling Dragons now immuned out. And happily done so. Good cleanses by Paul Ducky's gone frontline, just decimated by the Hounds. And the Ferrymen get to fall back to this Fire Giant 5 strong with nothing to worry about. Coast, Benny Q, and Oath going to the other side of the world.
And the Hounds just too far forward, the front line. Quig and Ducky completely alone in the Fire Giant pit. Couldn't tell you what the thought process was there. Even Quig, I feel like, could have probably just used Fracture to get out of dodge. Instead, sticks around, dies, trying to fight with Ducky. Now 30 seconds without the frontliners. The Eldritch Hounds will be forced to allow this Fire Giant to fall down. Only one Tier 2 tower still standing for the Hounds, and it won't be for long. No defense here in the foreseeable future, so instead, immediately upon those Phoenixes. Now the Styx Ferrymen, they've got time to play with. The last Fire Giant really only actively used for the last 40 or so seconds of it. This one got a whole lot of time. That's what I would have said. Instead, it'll be a fallback to neutral. And Pyromancer, a Runic Bomb, simplifies these sieges, 1,000 true damage, and slowing the attack speed of whatever structure you hit. Very valuable. But the Eldritch Hounds are probably happy with this. I think they're very concerned with the the immediate siege potential to Styx Ferrymen with all the sustain they've got as well. Falling back to the Pyro, you will eat up probably about 40 seconds of this Fire Giant power play. It's not too bad for the Hounds.
We got to talk about Hell. I think at this point, necessity, right? 5-0 and 1. We talked about it earlier. You were talking about it on the desk as something you preferred to see in mid.
Oh, it looks good, don't it?
Yeah, and Paul's maybe proven your point for you even more. I mean, the healing has been insane. 11,000 already put up, and that topples anybody else in the game. You had already mentioned how Horus was going to struggle. But then the damage numbers. I mean, you're third on the charts there, too. It's not like you're sacrificing one or the other. Paul is just playing this.
He's like one ability rotation on
Better.
top damage. Yeah, Paul's Hell has been an issue for as long as Paul has been in competitive Smite. This is a tale as old as time itself. Sometimes people forget, though. You know, the coming and going of the seasons. You know, the suns and moons travel across the sky, and you forget that Paul's an absolute animal.
Now you got to figure something out here. If you're the Hounds, defense is the conversation. Sino
No punch.
pulled in, no push back from Ducky. But half health for the Osiris. Gonna go over to Paul. Get some much needed healing. Ducky maybe pulled out too far. Has to play carefully here. And defense, defense, defense. That's the name of the game right now for the Hounds, Mifflin. I mean, we saw good Dueling Dragons last time. I don't think I need to even ask you how good the defense is. It's there. It's just, can they hit something to make it work? Let's talk offense. Maybe we don't need to. Lights off for Cyclone Spin. Get some damage out there onto Quig. It seems like breaking into this, despite the fact that that Phoenix is low, is just proving difficult for the Ferrymen.
I mean, if Cyclone Spin wants to sit on Phoenix line and wait for his ultimate and do it that way every single time, I believe Shibalanke, the only hunter, they can attack from outside of range.
No.
Oath, you out?
Slowed down, killed off. Just as easy as that. Sino jumped in, and it doesn't look like he's going to get punished for it. Benny Q comes over. There's the root. There's some damage. Much needed by the team, but they leave the left side Phoenix open. They get the jungler. Now what can they do with it? Horus ult, and they're going to retaliate over towards mid. Set themselves up defensively. Good root onto Aurora. Roar pulls Benny Q forward. Push back from Ducky. Keeps the fight going. Baskin, about 2/3 HP. Falls back, and honestly, health bars for the Ferrymen don't matter too much when Paul can just top you off for a few seconds after the fight. Left side Phoenix down. Mid Phoenix chipped away. Primal Fury's up, though. Mifflin Fire Giant's worn off. The Ferrymen are going to fall back.
Great play from Sino there. Completely flipping the script, has had much more presence these late game fights. I think when your whole team's winning, you tend to look good regardless. But the Osiris finding the solo kill up against this Susano, not something I would have expected. And creating so much space on map, forcing the rotation for the Eldritch Hounds if they want to punish Sino, and they did. Leaves that left side Phoenix exposed, and the Styx Ferrymen able to knock that one down. Most valuable Phoenix on the map taken away. So difficult to defend it as well as the Fire Giant. Those enhanced mini waves already starting to maneuver their way into the base of the Eldritch Hounds. Hounds, though, unperturbed. The Styx Ferrymen have to know that the Hounds are on the right side of the map somewhere, else they would be defending their base. Fireman wave now. Starting to move its way forward once more. Instead, it's a Fire Giant fight. Eldritch Hounds say, wait, look, we have not won out on a base defense. The sustain is too much. On top of Fire Giant, all that additional power. Cannot do it, so instead, it's a grouping here. Could be a Hail Mary attempt, though. If you get caught out in neutral territory, the Eldritch Hounds, they'd simply lose the game from that position. Styx Ferrymen, Classic Mouse Esports, they're going for the rope around.
So far, they've been able to find it. Ducky backed to deal with the fire minions. I was thinking the same thing as you. I saw those waves walking in. We've seen teams lose just as much from bad defenses as we have from watching fire minions go in and deal 3/4 of the Titan's HP before the fight can truly begin. Fire Giant started up by the Ferrymen, and a full reset here. Ducky teleports into the back line. Oath caught out on the side, tries to get damage done, but the damage is on him. Sino is chasing him down, and Benny Q is facing the same thing. Him and Quig have nothing to work with, but the damage from Coast, it's going big at first, but the healing is just better. The peel is not there. It's not good enough from the Hounds. And even though it was a slow start for the Ferrymen, they find 3, they TKO 1, and they're going to run straight in towards the base, Mifflin, with minions to work with, but no Cyclone Spin. They're going to have a little work to do here. Oath topped off. Same thing for Ducky. Mid Phoenix is up. They walk behind. Ducky doing his best to knock him around. Damage might be there. Can they kill Paul? That's the target. That's the necessity. But Oath can't even make it back to the fountain. Paul puts a stamp on this one. Game 1 goes the way of the Ferrymen.
Team fight dip here from the Styx Ferrymen. It's just all that sustain all the time. See, it's not the damage, clearly, because the Titan still stands, but eventually will fall because the battle goes long, and the battle going long always favors the team with the healers, and this time it's the Styx Ferrymen.
Yeah.
In a battle of junglers, I had really thought I had seen or would see more from Oath, especially in that early to mid game. Wasn't the case. Both junglers for the first 20 some odd minutes of this game, around 4,000 to 5,000 damage, 2,000 for Sino on the other side. The Susano just couldn't find his opportunities, didn't really even attempt to go towards those side lanes. It was a whole lot of hovering in mid and just farming up naturally. If you want to farm up for late game, that's great. It's a great strategy. You should probably draft for it, though. That's what the Styx Ferrymen did. And their composition looks great at that point of the match.
I mean, the healing worked out wonderfully. I think that might even be an understatement. It worked out so well for them. But then even towards the end, I mean, I felt like Quig didn't exist in a lot of those fights. Stepped forward, Horus was just
got
gone.
erased.
There was certain points where after a while, that's what was happening to Oath. Sino's jumping in after the Susano to chase him down. And when moments like that are happening, well, you bet the Ferrymen feel happy. And of course, the 35% that thought the Ferrymen would win feeling pretty happy about that one as well. That does it for Game 1, Mifflin. The question is what happens in Game 2. Will it be a 2-0 for the Ferrymen? We'll find out right after this break.
Till you get to where you're going. Just research where you're going. A t-shirt where it's snowing. A preacher not quite knowing what he's saying. What he's saying. I don't wanna be around when you lose control. I don't wanna be around when you lose control. I don't wanna be around when you lose control. When you lose control, it's so hard to hold. All this weight up on my shoulders. I hate to say I told you so. I don't wanna be around when you lose control. I don't wanna be around when you lose control. I don't wanna be around when you lose control. When you lose control, it's so hard to hold. All this weight up on my shoulders. I hate to say I told you so. Take 10 steps back. Close your eyes and listen. Look from somewhere different. I know that I've been slipping. I fold my tie and ribbon to hide my scars. That's how it starts. Ooh, I don't wanna be around when you lose control. I don't wanna be around when you lose control. I don't wanna be around when you lose control. When you lose control, it's so hard to hold. All this weight up on my shoulders. I hate to say I told you so. Yeah. Told you so. Yeah. I don't wanna be around when you lose control. I don't wanna be around when you lose control. I don't wanna be around when you lose control. When you lose control, it's so hard to hold. All this weight up on my shoulders. I hate to say I told you so. Hate to say I told you so. Hate to say I told you so.
Don't let that ad scare you. The Godslayer Ice Shaker is indeed available now, and it's a lot less scary than how things look and how things are in that ad. The maniacal laughter really caught me off guard. But really, that's just laughter at how great of a deal this is, because my goodness, the Advanced GG Smite crossover Godslayer Energy Bundle, oh, it's available right now at advanced.gg/Godslayer. You can get the Ice Shaker and the Advanced GG Energy formula in the flavor Godslayer. 40 servings, not too shabby. Use it pre-game, pre-workout, pre-existence. Sometimes you need a little energy for that as well. Thanks to our friends over at Advanced GG for being with us here. Use code SMITE for 10% off your purchase. And it's looking like the Styx Ferrymen woke up with some energy today, because they start things off with a 1-0 lead over the Eldritch Hounds. Charlie, this is a game that feels in the first 15 minutes like the ebbs and the flows are kind of up in the air. Eventually, Paul hits the big Lotus Sickle regrowth power spike.
Yep.
And look, Hell is regarded as an annoying character to play against.
For sure.
And I think Paul shows us why in this game.
I think I can show you 5 people that would tend to agree, and that's all of the Eldritch Hounds. Yeah, Paul was unfortunately keeping his team extremely healthy, which became a problem. Anti-heal, you couldn't get enough of it. And I think the Hell, not only, my issue wasn't only just the healing, because, you know, there's a lot of healing currently in the meta. It was the healing and the damage. Paul was not just, oh, I'll be light stance heal bot. No, he was fragging while healing his team, and that became the real issue. I'd be shocked if he got his hands on this pick again. It's difficult for me to highlight the rest of the team when it did really seem like Paul was kind of the driving force behind this squad. But of course, Baskin had healing too. Aurora and Baskin and Sino were all trying to dive consistently. I mean, they had the movement speed from that Hell. They had the buffs that it provides. So yeah, I'm thinking a lot of this draft could have been chalked up to let's not let Paul have Hell, and maybe the fights go a little bit simpler. I didn't really see enough out of Oath. He unfortunately is the answer to this Hell, right? The Susano has to be able to close gap, but just was not able to do so because of that. Paul goes undying, and that was a big problem.
Look, Osiris Jungle gets itself a win. But again, look no further maybe than Paul, who ends 8-0-2 on the Hell. It's a 1-3-7 game from Sino, 11k damage. Just slightly above Oath, so the junglers did not really have a standout performance here in Game 1, but Cyclone Spin plus Paul, the carries of the Styx Ferrymen felt unkillable. And it's worth mentioning the Sino, or the Osiris rather, plus the Hell kind of duality with one another makes an Osiris really hard to kill. Makes the rest of your team really hard to kill. And I promised you I'd come back with answers, Charlie.
Okay.
And it's because the scenario is actually potentially just over the horizon. If the Styx Ferrymen, we can go into picks and bans as I'm waxing poetic here. If the Styx Ferrymen 2-0 this set, if they win this game, they will improve to 5-5. The Hounds will drop to 5-5. So there's your first tiebreaker, just straight up standings. Guess what? The Hounds and the Ferrymen would be tied. Then it would go to the individual head-to-head. The Hounds beat the Styx Ferrymen 2-0 the last time these two teams played. Should the Ferrymen win this game, they will have beaten the Hounds 2-0 this time. And so their head-to-head would be tied. But Dave, what about plus-minus? Well, going into this set, the Hounds were sitting at a +3. The Styx Ferrymen were sitting at a -1. Should the Styx Ferrymen get a 2-0, theirs would improve by 2, up to a +1. The Hounds would drop by 2, down to a +1. And so the Hounds and the Ferrymen would be tied in all regards across the board should the Styx Ferrymen win Game 2 here, which will bring us to a tiebreaker scenario, which we'll get into should that scenario unfold. But if you're asking Ducky, he's like, look, I just wanted a 2-0 one way or the other.
Yep.
And the Ferrymen may be able to deliver that. But it might also open the door to a different type of tiebreaker a bit further down the road. So just keep your eyes on that. A Ferryman 2-0 would tie up the Hounds and the Ferrymen in every tiebreaker category that we've got. And so that is up in the air going into Game 2 here. Know what else will be up in the air, Trelly? Oh, this is great by me. A Manticore will be flying around up in the air. The Eldritch Hounds have locked him in with their first pick.
That is an interesting call. First of all, you set it up perfectly, but more specifically because the Vamana goes unchecked. The Marty looks like the Elder Towns value a little bit more. And I think it's a little bit about, who's carrying harder. Is the Marty's AoE damage just absurd, or is the Vamana just stomping away? That's my question. We won't have answers for a bit. But already revealing the double hunter composition here from the Eldritch Towns. So you got the Hashi, you got the Marty. That's plenty of damage already. Top it off with a Hercules. A lot of physical damage, but you already have the Prot Shred in for Marty, so you're not going to care too much about physical defense. A lot of AoE. That is the current issue here if you're the Styx Ferrymen. But they grab themselves the Vamana Horus. That's such a good front line as well.
Yep. Jabalanke in there for Cyclone Spin, who's played it a few times so far this year. Beat the Hounds with it here in Game 1 at 2-2-7. Been a lot of Ram, a lot of Hachiman, little X-Ball for Cyclone Spin. So I'm wondering if you would have ended up playing the Marty or not anyway. It feels like the standard auto attack carries have been right up Cyclone Spin's wheelhouse here recently. So Hounds getting that early, and they'll hope that the double ADC composition can get things done here in Game 1. Second wave of bans roll through. Baba Yaga, we've been forgetting about Baba later on in the draft, but that is something that Paul loves to build a little bit of defense on, as well as a whole lot of damage, and might have leaned into it with his mid lane pick here in Game 2. And it won't be a Naja for Sino. The Osiris still available. Let's go, Dave. We're on it.
You are on point.
2 out of 3 wins for the Osiris when we've seen it. And Sino looking to improve that to a 75% win rate across 4 games if the Styx Ferrymen are able to find a 2-0 here in Game 2.
And that would be massive, because that would prove all the doubters wrong.
That's right. And I'm a doubter. I'm a hater.
I'm not a hater.
I'm a
doubter.
hater.
Okay. All right. In this case.
And a doubter.
All right. Well,
Can you be a doubter but not a hater versus being a hater but not a doubter?
I think a hater means you hate it regardless of facts. A doubter means, I'm not so sure.
But is a hater always a doubter?
Yes. But a doubter's not always a hater.
Right.
A doubter needs facts. A hater ignores facts and says,
Understood.
I hate regardless of the information.
Understood.
Because of that, the other towns, I think the Alquang was a smart ban, definitely something that they could have looked towards in the jungle, something that Oath has had a fantastic performance on. The Styx Ferrymen took it away. So the question now becomes, do you go back to the Susano after the performance you just had? It was fine, but it wasn't able to do enough. It does look like that's something the outer towns want. They're going to grab some sustain with the Sylvanas, possibly. And that would be some good engage. You have the chance to hit a nice pull, which could pull some beads, as Hercules has that same sort of chance. And it does look like the Sylvanas at the very least will be grabbed in. So the other towns has that engage. They've got some good lane pressure over in duo lane. And they've got that team fight, not only with Wrath of Terra, but also the Typhoon. And once again, it's going to be the Kumba Hubbard.
Yeah, we're going to Game 3 if this Kumba Karna gets locked in. I'll tell you what. We have seen it a couple times for Aurora, and
I assume it would be Paul taking it if it's locked in that slot.
No, Paul's going to end up playing the Horus mid or something like that. Let me look up. All right, where's his all-time win rate on Kumba Karna?
Aurora, it's got to be low.
It's actually oh wait, where'd it go? It's a bang-on 50% win rate on Kumba Karna.
That's not so bad.
Across his career, though. Across his career.
This season, it's definitely a 0.
Let's take a quick little peek-see, why don't we? Aurora, Kumba Karna has played it 1 time, and has won on it 0 times.
Yep.
0.7 KDA in that game. The Opwash popped up. You remember the Opwash support game?
Oh, wow.
What? Speaking of Opwash, I was looking at the Opwash support game that Aurora played, and he went like 0-8. He has a 0 KDA on Opwash this year. I think luckily for us, it won't be Aurora on Opwash. It'll be Paul. Add some anti-heal into the conversation for the Styx Ferrymen.
And anti-heal's important. I mean, the Wisps, you could just stun your whole team if Quig's not on point. I did not expect the Paul Pwash, though, I will say. In a situation like this, Paul likes to go hard carries, and Outpwash usually isn't. I mean, he goes on Dying on Hell, so protecting Paul on these mages is certainly a possibility. But there is a lot of dive, and I will say Susano doesn't care too much about an Outpwash, especially if he's able to get ahead. You kind of just kill him before the game starts. There's a lot of dive potential here. I mean, both ADCs have CC immune ults that can be used to chase down an Outpwash. Couple that with a Susano dive and a Hercules. It's pretty much just can the anti-heal and the fleeting breath, the stun that the Outwash provides, ruin your team fight enough, or is he just going to get walked at?
Right.
That's the question.
Well, I wonder, the conversation from the jungle, we kind of went in. Well, I went in on the Osiris prior to game 1.
Yeah.
But you were just being a doubter. I was being a hater.
Of
right?
course,
Which are
yeah.
two totally different things.
Yes.
It's the same exact jungle matchup, the Osiris versus Susano, and it felt like both junglers were fine to sit back and farm up a little bit until things got a bit scrappier over towards the mid game. If you're looking at Osiris, though, Trelly, you will not have the hell to boost it up, it feels like, here in game 2. Does the dynamic of the Osiris in your mind change, given how the composition around it has changed?
It definitely does. I think the Hell provided a lot of movement speed, a lot of CC immunity, a lot of engage/disengage that the Styx Ferrymen were relying on. But in this case, the Outwash is going to provide a lot more damage, that anti-heal AoE control. They're two different things. The main difference is not, the Osiris playstyle. It's Paul becomes much less safe on a pick like Outwash, so you have to look towards Peel. You got Horus, Vamana. It seems to me like the Styx Ferrymen just want to dive, right? They want to go in. They've got Vamana, they've got Osiris, pop the X-Ball and just dive. And in that case, hopefully your team's going so hard that you don't look back and Paul's left alone by himself. The other towns have some great dive as well. They've got safety, death from above, as well as the mounted archery is enough to really get you out of trouble, which I think the other towns are going to look for. If they can survive that initial dive, that initial engage, their refight looks a lot like it looks real solid.
Whose chair was that?
I don't know, but they're not there anymore.
I'm trying to use context clues to whittle it down.
Is it Paul?
No, I just saw Paul.
Okay.
We just saw Sino.
Then it's Cyclone.
Have we seen Baskin in a little bit of time?
Wait for it. Wait. Oh, there it is,
That's a
baby.
spinner.
That's why I'm here.
I got good news and bad news.
Okay.
We had a quick lobby remake, so don't you worry. You're hanging with us for just another minute or two, and then we'll be getting into game number 2 here shortly. Cyclone doesn't even have to be in there for picks and pans. He's like, guys, just pick me one of Jabalanke, Ram, or Hachiman, and we're chilling. It seems like more of a discussion around how the front line wants to work. I imagine, or maybe I won't imagine, because that sometimes gets me in trouble. Would you put the timer on the Styx Ferryman in this game? Do you think eventually this double hunter composition will get to a point where late in the game it's dealing with a Vamana, it's dealing with a Horus, it's dealing with an Osiris just fine?
I think at this point, first of all, double hunter composition is only going to get better. That makes sense, right? Marty and Hachiman are just
fine one.
They're just going to keep on going, exactly. But the Styx Ferrymen, they can do their strat at any given moment. It's just full-on dive and hope it works. You want Vamana getting a kill with Colossal Fury or forcing out relics. You want Osiris to dive in the backline with that ultimate. You turn out the lights and you empty the crypts. And at the end of that, if all those ultimates go down and you have not found a kill, you are probably losing that fight, because not only is there incredible fight back attempts from the Eldritch Hounds just by nature of their auto attacks because they have these hunters, it's because they've got sustain. They've got the Sylvanas. They've got plenty of healing, and the Horus is going to have trouble trying to keep up if it's just these two providing that level of sustain. So I'm thinking, the Eldritch Hounds have more. They have room to mess up. They can drop a fight and come back, whereas the Styx Ferrymen, they need to make sure they are hitting all of their abilities and fighting exactly when they have their strengths. But given the matchup I just watched, I'd be hard pressed to see that they don't have that capability.
No, I might feel silly even opening up this conversation.
Please do.
Feel silly or open up the
A
conversation?
little bit of both.
I mean, it's definitely Sino on Osiris, right? There's no world where it's Vamana jungle and Osiris solo.
No, Baskin would never.
Baskin
said, "I like good gods. You can play whatever you want.
You can play what you want.
Yeah.
Don't bring the Osiris
Yeah,
over into my lane. It's been a couple Osiris games so far for Sino.
Yeah.
50% win rate, 1.2 KDA. Actually, looking back, so Nike Sino's played 4 times.
Yep.
25% win rate. 50-50 on Surtur through 4 games as well. 50-50 on Osiris through a couple of games. This is putting a bit of data behind the warrior jungle conversation. that we've been having just a little bit over the last few weeks. Sub 50% win rate across 10 or so games played. That said, I guess we're flipping a coin with Osiris. You've won one, you've lost one. Last game looked great, but now you don't have the hell behind it. Remember, I want to recontextualize this. Trelly and I have had some fun sitting up here chatting with one another. If the Styx Ferrymen were to win this one 2-0, they'll have the same win-loss record as the Eldritch Hounds. They will have tied each other in head-to-head. They will have each won once against one another. And their plus-minus will have both equalized. Hounds starting out at +3, and the Styx Ferrymen starting off at -1. And so everything could get chaotic all of a sudden if the Styx Ferrymen are able to find a 2-0, and we'll see if they can do it in Game 2.
A lot of pressure on them here, Mifflin, to give them a little bit of trouble. Maybe to give us trouble, honestly. See what they do. And, of course, for the Ferrymen to try. I guess it wouldn't be ending the phase on a win if immediately after they have to then do a tiebreaker. We'll see what they do, though. Hounds have the opportunity to change things up. And I want to ask you, I guess just blanket statement overall at the very beginning of this, based on drafts alone. Do you think we're going 3?
Oh, man. Gore, it was an emotional roller coaster. I saw the Vamana get locked in, and I thought to myself, yes, it's time. It's a warrior jungle, and it's one that I can really get behind. Someone that's going to be building some crit and walking people down. And I saw the Osiris get locked in. I thought to myself, oh, okay, well, maybe we're not going to get exactly that, but as far as the entire composition is concerned, I think potential.
Yeah.
Always potential to win. You know, even if it's a 5% chance, and I'm not saying it is a 5% chance, there's always potential. Play on field is king in Smite.
As we just saw.
That's the nature of an action MOBA. That's the skill ceiling and the skill floor and how that interacts. You have to aim everything, and if you're not hitting your shots, it doesn't matter how good your character is. But looking at the composition, and this is a big but, cannot lie, I just think the Eldritch Hounds have got the better one, man.
I do want to ask about Quig specifically. I feel like last game we didn't get to see a lot from the Horus. A couple of ults every now and then that made a difference, but otherwise, like, withstanding power wasn't there. And we also had some questions maybe about the jungle. Good pull from Oath. So I'm going to keep my eye on that matchup. But we talked about that one. Sylvanas, do you think Oath specifically is going to be able to get a little bit more done with this pick, or do you think we're going to be, I mean, maybe doomed, right? It feels like it can live or die based on the pulls.
Yeah, Sylvanas has been in and out of the pro rotation, it seems like, for the last week or so, where a few teams have been going towards it. It has really good counter initiation in a healer meta, a little bit of sustain to match up against some of the healing on the other side. A phenomenal initiation or counter initiation ultimate. All adds up, and when you think about it, Sylvanas could be very good.
Yeah.
The issues start to arrive when junglers get involved, and I would think for Cyno, this is a particularly good gank target. If you catch Quig rotating through the jungle or anything like that, I mean, that's just an easy pickup for you. He just doesn't have the mobility to escape.
Speaking of easy pickup, okay, Coast has a dash.
Seemed like he didn't for a while there, right? He's just holding on to it.
Really far, or really close to death. And then far enough away. Shield buff should go over to the Ferryman. Beads down as well in mid. Another 2 minutes on those for Benny Q. So pressure right now, I mean, you know, we were talking about what we wanted to see out of Oath last game. We're seeing it out of Cyno so far. Also, Ducky and Baskin have been flirting with death, I feel like, every other time we pan over here. Now, health bar is looking pretty good. Knock up from Ducky not going to connect, and so maybe the jungle's presence over here just turns into blue buffs. We need to see... you had highlighted it at the end there. Just anything from the Susano early on, maybe some impact to change the pace of the game, change the course of the game. And it definitely feels like as the rest of the team, specifically Marty, because of the damage that we've seen from that pick, could really open up opportunities, even if it's not explicitly against the op wash, maybe against Cyno, but somewhere in mid, somewhere around mid.
It's the op wash, by the way. That's a good spot to be if you're Susano.
That guy can't run.
Yeah, he can empty the crypts. He can try and turn and burn, and he's got massive burn potential. Kill secure as well from Paul, but displacement and damage output from the Eldritch Hounds mid-jungle core, I think, should stack up and make it pretty difficult to exist as an op wash. A pull into Death from Above, into Typhoon, disengage, probably just does it for the Eldritch Hounds. But Paul is no stranger to playing picks that are largely immobile and generally considered fodder for junglers, right? We've seen Paul Hell go Undying consistently. That's another great gank target. We've seen Paul Vulcan consistently.
Yeah.
That's another great gank target. And it just doesn't seem like it when Paul is the one piloting it. Always in the right position. A very safe player, incredibly difficult to lock down. But it's my job as an analyst to break down the matchup. And Susano should feel comfortable, at least at this phase of the game, in dealing with Paul. You're probably waiting on your Transcendence first, though.
Yep.
That's going to slow down your build a little bit. We saw hi-rez in second slot from Oath. That's your primary power spike. Could be that he decides to wait on that again. But I think he would be missing out on opportunities if he allows Paul even more time to farm up. Spear of Desolation already finished. Paul's going to get some CDR from that. Already has it from the Sands of Time. So we'll have self-sustain in kit. Every time Opwash tosses out those minions, could explode them for additional damage, could just pick them up for health and mana back. And I'm thinking if you're just poking him, he's going to have plenty of health and mana coming back.
Well, Oath gets caught out in the jungle. Slowed slightly, but not stunned by Sino. Now Sino's relatively deep. Goes around the back camps. Oath kind of playing like wishy-washy on whether or not he wants to go in there.
He got hit hard.
Might go for Paul, but instead it's looking like a very good blue buff invade. Oath caught out by Paul. Dodges out the damage, but uses his entire mobility to get out of there. Blue buff stolen by the Ferrymen. And able to secure their own in the meantime. A little bit of extra farm on right. Mifflin, it's a small advantage, and Sino's presence lets itself be known.
Go ahead and help me out here a little bit, Doug. What's Sino's level priority here? I believe it's Unravel, the amount of damage it just did, and it is. So the second ability, he's got really good poke potential. Well, it's called Spirit Flail. What have I been calling it? Unravel?
Unravel.
That's Nice. That's Nice 1, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I think that's Nice 2.
Yeah, Nice 1 as in like her ability, not her first ability.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Communication skills at an all-time low here from Mifflin. Yeah,
What was it,
Spirit
Flail?
Spirit Flail. It looks like Unravel, all right?
Yeah.
And a little twine comes down.
He's
or whatever.
unraveling something.
The point I was trying to get across is that he has got very good ability to rotate through lane and throw out consistent poke. That is not an ability that pros are going to be missing just about ever.
Yeah.
So walk through, hit Benny
Smack,
with it,
smack.
damage Styx because the healer hasn't rotated out of solo or duo lane just yet. One of your biggest damaging abilities as well. The reason you generally see the sickle max out first is when Osiris has been locked in most recently has been either Sino in the jungle or solo laners. And you've got an easier time applying that sickle consistently. It's on a much shorter cooldown. But junglers have a lot of time to think about what they want to do, a lot of time maneuvering through the jungle and thinking about when the fight's going to happen. And if that's the case, you don't care about the shorter cooldown. You want the more damage and the more consistent damage. So Spirit Flail makes sense to me. And it's not called Unravel.
And it's not called Unravel. Everybody learned something here. Earlier, if you were watching...
Chat knew. They've
got
been roasting me all day, I bet.
Well, you know what? The term talk, right? J-Mac did it...
Yeah, he didn't cover Spirit Flail in there for me.
But that's because we knew it was in the script for you to come in and
Nice.
cover that today, I guess. And we can clip that and ship it on TikTok.
Nice. You think J-Mac's like actually preying on our downfall, waiting for us to mess up?
Yeah, he actually... I've seen him. He leans back, steeples his fingers, and laughs maniacally. I didn't even know he had a maniacal laugh in him, but...
There's
sometimes
not a
you can catch
maniacal
it.
bone in that man's body.
Maniacal bones right now, that's what Sino's, I guess, filled with. I don't know, man. That was a bad segue. I'm going
His
to own that
bones
one.
are so maniacal.
Yeah. Osiris, the guy who loses body parts all the time, by the way. Still playing aggressive. Maybe even looking for something here. Blue buff on cooldown. Trying to go for the invade. Shield buff for the other team.
Man,
On the
we
other
are
side of the map.
farming.
It is farm, farm, farm. Blue buff does go the way of the Ferrymen. Shield buff does go the way of the Hounds. So some neutral farm, maybe control from the Hounds. 8 minutes in, Mifflin. Wow, it's been a very tidy game so far, right? It has been nothing but cleaning up your own buffs. It has led to a very small gold and slightly larger experience gap in favor of the Ferrymen. Most of that around Sino and Baskin, around those blue buff invades.
Yeah, let me see the GPM chart once more. I'm scraping the barrel here. trying to figure something out. 337 for Oath. 400 just about for Sino on the other side. So Oath just not able to farm up consistently on map. Has been splitting it a lot, been contesting neutral farm for the most part. We saw it around that shield buff just a moment ago. We'd seen it, him being accosted in his own jungle just before that, before the blue buff invade successful for the Styx Ferrymen. And it hasn't even particularly been pressure onto Oath. I wonder what's costing him so much in the farm department. Eldritch Hounds jungler just has not got a whole lot done yet today.
Purple buff stolen away by the Hounds, so trying to make up for a little bit of the pressure over on right. Cyclone Spin did use his ult. The Darkest of Nights gone. So maybe a small opening window, right? Knowing that you're not going to have your entire vision shut off while you're going potentially for a gank. A lot of ward coverage from the Hounds.
I just
as
saw
well.
that. That's crazy.
So many on the left-hand side.
Who are they scared of?
It feels like they either scared of someone or have to be going for a Fury play at some
These
point,
wards
right?
are redundant, too. Let's get ahead of it right now. I mean, look at the 3 wards between mid
boom,
and
boom.
left lane in a solid line there. That middle ward of the 3 covers the other options. You're for the most part, going to realize when that rotation's happening. Unless the Styx Ferrymen rotate between your towers and go through your green buff, I don't see you needing all 3 of those. We're splitting hairs, but we have to. We're 10 minutes in, and not a whole lot's happened.
Well,
Beats
hey,
down,
there's
though.
going to be an ult from Paul as well.
Hold on.
Damage is there, and that's
There it
all
is.
they need. Finally, a first blood, and it's Oath with the Typhoon to shut down Paul. You were calling for it. You said Apwash is the target, and you didn't really want to see him wait for the Hydras. He gets it just before the Hydras, just before the Transcendence evolves. And they might look for a little more. Sino pushed against the wall. Damage there for Ducky. Oath alongside him. Quig rotating in as well. 3v2 with Sino half health. Root down. It doesn't seem like they feel confident in their damage, especially with the rotation. Horus wandering his way over here. Ult from Vamana. Baskin trying to smack down Quig as much as he can. Getting a lot of good damage out there, and nobody's helping him. Quig gonna have to self-peel here, and does have enough.
Oh, he's
Root
out.
peels for him. Boulder doesn't get the fortunate bounce, and Sino avoids that damage. Ducky continues trying to chase. Baskin now isolated. No ult. Just enough mana for the dash. Quig not able to get the pull, and the fight fizzles out.
Fight fizzles, but let's not forget where it started, and that was in mid. A phenomenal rotation from Oath. Catches Paul on that tower line, and I would argue overkills him by like 600 damage with the amount of damage still available to both Benny and Oath. The ultimate from Benny only half-channeled by the time Paul had fallen down. Now no beads, no shell. No chance on a second rotation. Paul decides to stack up a little bit of defense to help out with that, but Benny on Marty has got defense shred in spades. Should be a play you can replicate.
Aurora spots out the Fury, started up and burning fast. Hounds secure that one. Aurora still playing aggressively, though. You're going to have to fall back. And you know what, Mifflin? We can talk about the ward coverage. We can talk about the overlaps. But if you're going to have that much vision, you're going to know when someone's coming. The Hounds were fully aware. Get themselves the Fury easily. It looks like they're going to trade it out for the Pyromancer on the other side with no contest.
Easy pickup for the Styx Ferrymen to keep their heads above water, but the Eldritch Hounds certainly coming out on the other end a bit cleaner here. It's the conversation Dave and I always have is, well, you can't really evaluate the value of a Pyromancer until you see that Runic Bomb go down. Baskin has got it in his pocket and a lead, which means he should be able to rotate through these fights. But look at the build, Gore. That is a very aggressive Vamana build. Phalanx, that seems to be the new standard. Makes sense to me when you're basic attacked. It's not just your minions now. You yourself also benefit from that passive. It's the more so the double katana that's got me curious.
He's got 2 hands.
Is it hastened in next slot? Are we just running it down? It must be.
Hastened has been, I mean, it's a popular option for Vamanas. Granted, we
Usually
see
luxury
it,
6th. Yeah.
very, very late in the game. Maybe something early for Baskin. I mean, he was chasing him down. Maybe it's just that moment with Quig, where he knows if he had stuck to him
If
a little
I had
more,
hastened, oh, Quig.
that guy would have been dead. And maybe it opens his eyes. We'll see where he goes with it. Shield buff. Could turn into a fight, Quig. It's up to you. It's up to Coast. Not stepping up for a pull. So that one not going to amount to too much. Builds otherwise, I would say relatively normal. Breastplate of regrowth now for Paul. And we're used to him getting a defensive item, but this seems really early in the build. Is it just because of Oath and Benny?
Yeah, I think it is the concern of I am very susceptible to this mid-jungle combo. But as I said earlier, even up against them, the defense shred from Artikaros, death from above, it just makes it miserable. I feel like you're not really able to walk away from it. It could be the additional movement speed more so than the actual stat stick on regrowth that attracts Paul to this item. Maybe you do have the ability to outrun death from above, so long as it doesn't start up too close to you. But I imagine it is more so a concern for his own life, and the pace of the game that the Styx Ferrymen have elected to go for has been very slow up until this point, so you don't really need all that much damage just yet if you're not trying to do anything on map, and instead Paul decides that in that situation, defense a bit more valuable. The Eldritch Hounds, I think now can still rotate through mid, and I'm going to keep saying it. I'd love to see Oath stick there, at least burn the relic, burn a beads, burn a shell, make him think a little bit on the Styx Ferrymen when they're able to start walking up. But for the most part, it's been that one skirmish, and that's just about it.
Yeah, it feels like, we talk about like a Zadman passive or a Neil Ma passive. I feel like Paul's passive is just to get forgot about. Like, he's just like, people just don't realize he's there for a little while, and he gets so much done.
I'm going to do it. I got to make an anime reference. But it's a sports anime, so you can't roast me, Twitch chat. For those of you who've seen it, Paul's like Kuriko. You just can't see him, but he's making moves on the field. That's Kuriko,
That's a
no
good
basket.
reference, dude.
Oh, you seen that?
Yeah.
Oh, dap me up,
I
man.
like watching sports animes.
Let's go.
Actually, I like watching a lot of... Last night, all right, this is just going to be a gleam into my personal life. Fun. There's a dude, I don't even know the YouTube name because it's my friend who always pulls up the links, but we get into a stream together. We just watch, he does like anime quizzes, and we play along.
You do the quizzes?
Yeah.
You're doing trivia night.
We're doing
in
trivia
Discord.
night, and it's exclusively anime trivia because he doesn't know much about anything else, so that is where we're locked in. And joke's on them, I tend to do better.
And there you have it. Well, you already said your friend doesn't know much. Benny.
Well, no, he loves anime.
Knows anime.
It's just everything else.
Oh, but he's still losing there. So does he even know anime? I don't think so. Benny,
knows the new
down
ones.
to half HP. You can't keep distracting me, Gore. I'm going to talk about how that guy's been poked out.
Yeah.
Didn't stick, though. Got healed, so perhaps you know better. Vaporish Coast, though, how's he going to fare?
Well, he's got a horse. That seems to be just enough to get you out of there.
Hold that, Sino.
Baskin, though, is rotated in. Blinks over the wall. Lights turned off coast. Can't see. Can't go anywhere. Chasing down the Aegis. Buying so much time, but not enough to get peeled
Baskin's
out.
going
Baskin
crazy.
still chasing him down. That hastened. Going hard for the Vamana. Gets the kill. Forces a couple back. Good pull from Quig. Locks down Baskin after the dash. Oath goes in. Oath is just getting bullied. Baskin with the double. And now the Ferrymen want to keep moving forward. Ducky's getting low, getting chased. And the boulder's only going to buy a little bit of time.
Good
Baskin
Lord.
finds 3. Tries to back behind the tier 2. Might just keep the fight going. His team holds the tower for him. And he steps up to Benny Q. The damage should be there. It's going to be a 1 for 3 trade. But your solo laner, after picking up a triple kill, feels fine with that.
I mean, it's a pretty big bounty over to the kill target there, but what has Baskin done with his positioning? He's dragged the Eldritch Hounds as far away from the Gold Fury as possible, so the Styx Ferrymen will take that one as well. 2-level deficit now in the solo lane. Baskin can essentially do no wrong. I had thought Hastened in 3rd slot would come back and bottom. He wouldn't be tanky enough. He was tanky enough, and he does just enough damage. That was insane. I wonder what's going through Oath's mind there. Pyromancer pulled. Paul, you're alone. Are you sure about this?
Paul should get killed here. It's pretty easy for the Hounds. And they get the Pyromancer afterward. We had evaluated it earlier, Pyromancer. Baskin, don't know where he used the bomb, but it's gone. Whether it was the tower and the fight, obviously has been worthwhile for him. Bomb picked up now. For Benny Q, of all people, not typically where we see it go onto the mid laner. The Mifflin neutral objective's gone. And the gold is about 500 between these two teams. Not a whole lot. Experience is pretty much matching it. About 1,000 in favor of the Ferrymen. And a lot of that's in Baskin, right? 2 levels up for him, and that's the only true separator.
Man, my heart goes out to Paul because I respect the hero play attempt. And had he stolen the Pyromancer, we'd be talking about how he's the GOAT.
Yeah.
And he's just the greatest to have ever done it. But it feels like that was a needless amount of risk to walk up to Pyromancer alone there. And he lost out on both of his relics in trade as well. Aurora pulled back.
Wow, damage is good
Burns.
from Benny.
What is going on? Why is Aurora even trying to go for the fracture there? There's nobody to follow up. The Styx Ferrymen getting over-aggressive.
Now, yeah, it might end up costing Paul his life. Good pull from Quig. Good push
He hits him.
from Ducky. They heard the words tiebreaker, Mifflin, and they don't want to fight for it. They are playing like a team on a mission. Ferrymen, some questionable decisions over the last couple of minutes. Still only a few hundred gold separating them. Fire Giant not on the board. despite the 2 picks. Ferrymen not pushing down towers heavily yet. There we go. Starting in mid. Baskin going to play Disruptor here. Has been the go button.
And he's got no
immediately
ult.
chasing down BennyQ.
Man, he hits hard.
Relics up, and man, yeah, no, he is absolutely just stomping on people. But now the ult's gone. That could be the opener. Sino jumps forward.
Here comes Spinner.
Cyclone's rotated in. Quigs low, BennyQ low, Ducky. Tanking up 4 right now. Needs a little help from the team. Typhoon going to get a knock up. Good pull back on to Baskin, but the damage
Can't kill
just
him.
not quite there. Follow up, good fadeaway from the Hounds. But just as they cycled in 1 by 1 earlier, now they're cycling in 1 by 1 to join the fight. Ferrymen get 4, and that's enough numbers to make the Hounds second guess whether or not they can stay there. Plus the health bars fizzles out, no kills. No ults, a lot of relics.
No, lots of relics used there. I saw a small exchange in that fight that I think could be a recurring factor in the next couple of team fights. Baskin waits for death from above from BennyQ. He'd used it just earlier to pick up the kill onto Aurora. But when that's down, BennyQ does not have an answer to Colossal Fury. Nope. It's not a standard auto attacker Hunter, so even in the late game, Hunters would usually just say, all right, fight me. Then I've got lifesteal and I hit harder. It doesn't matter. Not the case for Marty. So instead, it's a heavenly sprint pickup for Quig. Just outrun Baskin. I love that.
Well, Ducky right now getting outrun. 3 on him, and it might be bait. Good knockup from Quig. Pulls the attention away. Sylvanas, he's a tree. He doesn't move too fast. Should get locked down here, but
has Quig missed a pull?
Might be worthwhile. Hasn't missed a pull yet. 3-man knockup from Oath. Not going to find much. Paul gets soloed out by Benny in the jungle. But Benny uses the ult there. You had just mentioned it. Does not fare well if Baskin's nearby. Has to worry about it. Baskin goes up into the ult and continues the chase. Benny's just too low. A couple of clicks, a couple of stomps, and he's in the ground. Ducky came back in. Nothing to do about it. Boulder gets some good bounces, but doesn't get the damage needed. Sino walks away from this one. Oath pulls Baskin in. I think the Hounds know better than to go for this fight. Ferrymen not able to pull the Fire Giant with their positioning, so Mifflin a lot of fight, a lot of pump, a lot of circumstance. Not a lot to go for.
A lot of Baskin, I'd say. This is a Woon Young Kim legacy game right now. He is doing incredible things for his team. The only one keeping him afloat, I'd say. If Baskin has got ultimate, the team fight is alive for the Styx Ferrymen, and his target selection and positioning has just been ideal. Punishes Benny on the pickup on the Paul. Now, Benny's really got to think about it in the future, where he needs to use that ultimate to be the defense shred for his team.
Yeah.
Because it's a 4-Fizz draft. It's only Quig for the Magic. But if he uses that ultimate, he is a sitting duck for Baskin. There is still the enhanced movement speed from Heavenly that could change things up, but you can't rely on that every time.
Ferrymen get Pyromancer. Quig taken down to half. Ult's dropped in mid. Ducky looking to bully Sino, trying to keep things going. Oath might just get killed off in the jungle. Sino's gone.
Can't outrun
and that's
him.
going to be the rest of the fight. Who cares if Baskin gets the kill here? Everything else is happening. Baskin away from the engagement.
Oh, and he's
ult's
back.
about to come back up. BennyQ doesn't have that ult you were looking
Good
for
pull.
shredded. And Ducky does it beautifully. Pushes him away and helps get a kill onto a roar. Baskin walks forward. There's
He's going
the
to go
ult,
for it.
And
He's
he
got
chases
it.
Benny. No relics, no ult, no life. Baskin able to kill him down.
Good God.
And just like you said, it is him versus the world. The rest
He's
of the
still
Ferrymen
going?
are just playing assist at this point. Almost kills off Coast and almost kills off Quig. He's going to go
Someone
into the
stop
Phoenix
him.
and keep going. It's a rampage for the
Who's
solo leader,
next?
and he's not done. A double kill as he shuts down Ducky. 9-1-1. It's Baskin. And the Ferrymen, I guess, are also there.
Yeah, it's Baskin and the boys, right? Just doing it again, Styx Ferryman edition. This is insane. It is so seldom that you get to see what is essentially a free matchup. If there is no death from above, there is no threat to Baskin. There's not enough damage to kill Baskin without the defense shredding hitting him. But Benny needs to use it to secure kills onto Paul or Aurora as well. It's an issue of composition now that is starting to really rear its head. 4-Fizz draft works when you've got burn, but you got to burn the right targets, and now that's Baskin.
Well, Oath, a little early, goes in, tries for a steal. Fire Giant was only half health. Gonna have to let this one go. 23 minutes though, Mifflin. Might mean the death of some tier 2s. Should be able to defend Phoenixes. Coast right now is pushed up on left. Oath is over on left. Benny's up in mid. It's Quig and Ducky around the Phoenix.
Well, this is going to happen fast.
And they're going to jump
They got
right
the wave with
on
them.
into it. Wave with them. Fire
Wow.
Giant there, and it's a 5v2. Phoenix disappears in the blink of an eye. Back
He hits
finally come
those.
through. Good knockups. Sino, damage taken. Walking away. Benny Q still has ult. Mifflin, that's what we're looking for. Needs to hit that and needs to get it onto Baskin. Needs a pull here. Quig, unfortunately, he finally misses one. And it's in the favor of the Ferrymen. They get to walk away, but they walk away one Phoenix richer.
Yeah, there was just too slow a response from the Eldritch Hounds there. Not ready for what the Horus does, right? Which is deliver those minions to the Phoenix, deal with the backdoor protections, and deal with the Phoenix incredibly quickly. The Eldritch Hounds were split to the wins. I believe it was 2 on left, 1 in mid, trying to pressure the tier 2s of the Ferrymen. Just had not made it back to base in time, and even with a 3-man push from Ducky, nobody uses beads, nobody needs CC immunity because there was nobody there to follow up, and the Styx Ferrymen take the bird and escape into the night. Now with Fire Giant and a good long while on the Fire Giant still a minute and a half to play with this buff, you got to think Gold Fury, tier 2 towers, and maybe a Pyromancer before they're forced to reset and wait for the next Fire Giant. So often it's first Fire Giant, prime the map, get ready for the second one. That's when you start breaking the base.
Yeah.
Base broken already. Styx Ferrymen have done the hard part. It's victory lap on this Fire Giant power play.
Good news, right side Phoenix that goes down, right? Easy to defend, you can see right now. Coast, Ducky, working on that, creating some extra space for the team so that they can ideally defend coming up soon. But you had mentioned it's still a minute left on the power play. That's going to be a tier 2 in left. Tier 2 in mid's relatively low. Watch where the Ferrymen decide to walk. They run back, steal some camps. I thought it would have been a straight line to the Gold Fury, or a straight line to mid.
Got to get the wave.
I guess the wave matters most here, especially when 4 people are sitting invis in grass.
Do you think the Ferrymen know?
You gotta assume, right? Like,
Oh, now you gotta
imagine,
know.
especially when Benny Q throws some damage out there. It should still be a pretty easy tower. I'm watching Benny and Baskin for how this fight goes. Aurora's going in.
Is he? Or is he going left? He's got wave with him.
He's going in.
He got
and
the
it
wave
goes
in
into
there.
left, and they immediately
Wow.
jump down. What a Horus play, and what a call from the Ferrymen. Breaking the ankles of the Hounds. Get a second bird. They've got the minion wave over there as well. One bad fight from the Hounds here. One bad engage.
No way.
And it could fall apart. They go in for mid. They're looking to get all 3 Phoenixes on the
Where are
first
the
Fire
Hounds?
Giant of the game. Coast is just knocked back. Quig is burned down. Ducky has nothing much to do, and the rest are looking for things in the back line. Quig goes down. Oath does peel for his team, peel for the Phoenix, but it costs him his life, and it doesn't buy enough time. Third bird goes down. 2 gone on the Hounds. Can they aggress into the Titan? Have to play it carefully here, Mifflin. I don't know if they can win outright. They got fire minions on right. They got a minion wave on left. They might be able to do it.
They've got 30 seconds to play with as well. But look at the ultimate cooldowns. Paul, I think, the most important of which, that Empty the Crypt's going to be a major DPS check on this Titan. Would also make it difficult for the Hounds to actually stop the DPS themselves. Paul's got it. Maybe you walk in here.
Benny Q still has the Aegis. Aurora's taking a lot of damage. Coast tries to get
Titan's
something
burning.
here, but the Titan, you said it, it's a DPS check. Can they get it? A couple of kills, but it does not matter. It's a 2-0 here for the Ferrymen. And finally at the end, we get to shout some other names that aren't Baskin.
I mean, I'm going to say Baskin again.
Yeah,
I'm
no, we-
not
it's because
to
we're gonna
take
talk
away
to
from
him.
your point. We have to, right? I mean, that was... That's a Woony Kim legacy game. I
That
mean
wasn't
it
a Ferryman
absolutely.
victory. It was a Baskin victory.
Basket did it all. He dealt with the priority targets. He went in. He did all the damage. He secured the kills. The only thing he didn't do was burn Marty's ultimate. That was Paul. And Paul got to watch in a grayscale, yucking it up as Baskin just tears through.
Well, we talked about it going into this set. Plus minus was what we were looking at. Of course, win-loss records, set win-loss, that is, matters a lot. But then your game win-loss matters a lot. And when you go to the standings and you look at this 2-0 right now, you'll find that the numbers are actually equal overall in favor between the Ferrymen and the Hounds. And so the question will be who can take that spot. And unfortunately for them, it's not like they're fighting, I guess, too much now, depending on how the other set goes. I think the Kings and Ravens both still ahead in terms of second, so it'd be a fight for third in terms of seeding. Still something they got to figure out when we're going into playoffs. But the Ferrymen wanted to emphatically end this one. Baskin made sure they did. It's an exclamation point from the solo laner, and it's an ending portion of this from me and Myth. We'll go back to the desk, and they can break it down.
Vamana. Seems like a pretty good place to start here. Charlie, what do you think?
And then it's a good place to end. All right, Vamana. Now, in reality, we saw in Picks and Bans, right? There was a chance for the Eldritch Hounds to grab the Vamana. They chose to grab Marty Cross. I guess they thought it brought more to the table. In this case, if it brought more to the table, it didn't bring an answer to the Vamana, which was the main issue, right? Baskin, I think the casters highlighted it very well. He just absolutely pops off. It's one of the strongest picks in the meta right now for a reason. You have to have answers for it if you're going to let it through. And unfortunately, it just did not seem like that was the case there for the Eldritch Hounds. It's another slow-paced one. You know, it takes a bit to get rolling, but once Baskin starts rotating, that was really all they needed.
Look, the Hasten Katana, the caster shouted it out, made the Vamana a touch more obnoxious, it felt like here in game number 2. This now makes things interesting because I think the Order Division, one of the harder divisions to break down anyway, I felt like every team was beating everyone on this side of the SPL. This is where, honestly, I think what we were hoping would happen kind of happened, where the teams that ended up having to play each other a couple of times would all take games off one another, things would come down to the final day, and now literally come down to the final matchup over on the Order side. The Styx Ferrymen team lost some matches they should have won some matches, from behind, and this is just a good old 2-0 over the Eldritch Hounds. And the Eldritch Hounds, otherwise, have been on a really good streak. And so I think this is a statement win to end the phase for the Styx Ferrymen. We're going to be looking forward to tiebreakers and all that sort of stuff we're going to discuss by the end of the day because we still have one more match in the Order Division to really shake things out. And once we know that result, we'll know more about how the teams are going to tie-break, should that be necessary moving forward. But things feel pretty straightforward here on this one. 28,000 damage from Baskin out of the Soul Lane. Paul, look, despite being 1-4, just 28K as well. Benny Q tried his hardest, 26,000 on the Marty. Just seemed like a motivated Baskin. I was going to say Ferryman, but a motivated Baskin here in this game. But Ducky gets his wish. He's able to get out of here and get some food.
I suppose, yeah, if that's the case. He said, hey, I'm hungry.
I'm hungry.
And if that's the case, we'll give him Vamana. And it ends up working out pretty well.
The mastermind behind the Vamana pick, you might think would be Baskin.
Yep.
It's actually the head coach that strategized the picks and bans to put that Vamana in Baskin's hands. And it's Reels who's standing by with Gormizer.
That's right. I've got him here, the coach for the Ferrymen. I do want to ask, because we actually haven't gotten to talk to you, I think, at all so far this phase. So first question is just, what's it like coaching these guys?
It's good. They're a great bunch of guys. They're good players.
Do they listen well?
Sometimes. Not all
That
the time.
hesitation means no.
Sometimes, yeah. They're a good bunch of guys. They're easy to get on with, so it's fun, yeah. It's nice, good players.
I do want to ask, because we have you here, is the Osiris, because we've been kind of looking at it, works well this set. Is there a lot to that? Is it just something Sino wants, or what's the thought process behind that pick in the jungle?
I mean, it's just what he likes, right? You try and play to your strengths and
Yeah.
just pick what you're good at and roll with it and see how it works. And if it doesn't work, then put it on the shelf. But yeah, it worked in this game, so all good.
Speaking of good at, I have to ask, at least for your perspective, you're sitting in there and you're watching Baskin just put on a clinic on Vamana. What's it like sitting in the booth, I guess, just watching as it's like, 'cause the draft, is you're like, okay, we're trying to put ourselves in the best spot. You couldn't have predicted that.
No, I mean, it's super fun. It's really enjoyable, actually. Like just being the coach and sitting there and watching the players, especially like when you have a good team and you're really rooting for them. It's good fun, and just to see him pop off, yeah. And it's his birthday as well, so make sure you go wish him happy birthday.
Really?
Yes, the birthday boy.
Well, happy birthday. What a hell of a birthday present for him.
Exactly,
It's a win
Yeah.
and a good set. It was really fun to watch, and I'm sure you enjoyed it just as much
Yes,
watching from
I
the coach
enjoyed it a
booth.
lot. Thank you.
Congratulations on the
Thank
2-0,
you.
man. Thanks for your time. We'll go back to the desk.
No, happy birthday to Baskin. We got you a 10-1 Vamana game to end your phase. Put yourself in contention for that third, fourth seed spot. We'll see what happens with the Kings here in a little bit longer. And for his birthday, he handed the Eldritch Hounds an L, and that's not a too shabby of a way to celebrate your birthday. One set remains here in our road to Masters in the SMITE Pro League, and it is one set that matters a lot on the path to Masters. The Camelot Kings and the Highland Ravens end the phase. And as we've talked about so heavily, standings ever so important. Eldritch Hounds fall to 5-5. Styx Ferrymen improve to 5-5. Those two teams have beaten one another each 2-0. They're plus-minus across the entire phase. Also equal at +1. Camelot Kings and Highland Ravens, though, Trelly things simplify. If the Highland Ravens win, great. You're first seed. You did it. You moved through.
You did it.
Camelot Kings, should they win, they will improve to 6-4. The Highland Ravens would drop to 6-4, but the first tiebreaker is head-to-head, which the Camelot Kings would have 2-0 over the Highland Ravens, having beat them a few weeks ago 2-0 in that game. So things really simple for first seed going into our final set of the day. Regardless of how many games it takes you, if you win, you are the first seed from the Order Division. You are going straight to Masters. You don't have to play in playoffs. You don't have to move through the qualification process. And it's just that simple. Kings win there in first seed. Highland Ravens win there in first seed. Things will get interesting should the Kings lose, because then you'd have 3 teams tied at 5-5 in a tie for second place. And we already know that the Ferrymen and the Hounds have all 3 tiebreakers equal.
Yep.
That's where the Kings then come into the conversation. Who's taking games off one another in that area? And so if you're hoping for simplicity, you're maybe just hoping that the Kings go ahead and win things here in our final set of the day. The Kings get first seed, Ravens will get second seed, and then we'll find a tiebreaker for third, fourth. But Kings lose, things get all sorts of chaotic. Final set of the phase, and it's an important one. Camelot Kings, Highland Ravens up next.